Hey y'all, and welcome to a makeup and story time, because this is a story I have hinted at telling for a long time, and just, I'm never home alone anymore because everybody's out of school and off work. So now that I am home alone for a little while, well, not alone, but my kid is upstairs and I have time before I have to take her to work, I'm going to tell you guys about Kyla. I promised this story time. It is here. So, yeah. Have you ever just met a friend? Loosely used term here. And then, the friendship was, so chaotic and horrible that you wish you could go back in time and walk right past them when you first meet them? Because that's how my friendship with Kyla was. I met her in, April of 2018. I was friends with a girl I'm no longer friends with now, but I was with her and her son, which was the only kid she had at that time, and we had been at the park, and I was like, oh, let's go get some ice cream or whatever, I feel like ice cream sounds really good. So we went to our local gas station, which is UDF, also known as United Dairy Farmers. They're not Ohio exclusive, but I'm not sure where else they are. But anyway, she was a cashier at the time, and when I first met her, I was deeply attracted to her. I mean, she was the definition of my type, being a bigger woman, an older woman, blonde, brown eyes, the whole package in one person. And instantly like that, developed a crush on this woman, and believe me, regret is strong with me now. But I really liked her, and I wanted to get to know her. So because I was too shy to do it myself, but I had been pushing myself because I wanted to step outside of my comfort zone. I'm not the type of person who's going to approach somebody that they like and be flirty and flirtatious. I really can't flirt to save my life. I don't know how I got my wife, but I'm not a big flirty person, which I understand is kind of an oxymoron for the Aries of the world, but I'm just not good at it. I think my anxiety gets into my head, and my social anxiety is so bad that I'm you know what I mean? I just don't know what to say. Anyway, so my friend, I was like, well, I told my friend said, let me give her your number. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you can find out if she's single, and she is in fact single, then I'll go ahead and I'll let you do it. I'll let you give her my phone number or whatever. And she went up there, and honestly, okay, first red flag should have been, she asked her if she was single. She said, no, I'm married. And then before my friend could walk away, she said, wait, I just got divorced. And I was like, okay, first red flag should have been that, because clearly you're not over this divorce, because you're still saying that you're married. But I'm me, and I view red flags as a fucking amusement park ride. And I said, okay, well, she's single technically then. I mean, you're either, or she had come back to me, she said, well, first she said she, and my friend said, at first she said no, and then she said, well, kind of, I'm divorced. And I was like, how are you kind of single? Or are you kind of divorced? The divorce isn't settled, but it's pretty much solid. You're either single or you're not. How do you not know that? And I said, whatever. She said she's divorced. Hopefully that's accurate, and she's not just trying to get some free attention from somebody younger that thinks she's pretty or whatever. So we gave her my phone number. Well, actually, I panicked when my friend went up to do it and ended up taking the kids out to the car, because I was like, nah, I cannot be present when you do this to me, because I don't know, I just get really paranoid that. I don't want to see you take it and throw it away. You know what I mean? So she gave her my number. Predictably, she never called or text, and I was like, oh, it's no big deal, whatever, she's not into women, it's fine. And I just lost my complete train of thought. Oh, and eventually my friend Rachel and I went walking down Main Street one night. We were just hanging out. I wanted to get out of the house, but I didn't have any like cash or anything to spare at the time because I hadn't gotten paid for work yet. And I was like, let's just go walk around Main Street because that'll at least get us outside. It'll get us some fresh air. It'll get us active, and it won't cost us any money. So we're walking down Main Street. I swear to you, I did not know where she lived at this time. And we ran into her. She was walking back from BP, another local gas station that is within walking distance of Main Street. Like, if you live on Main Street, you're pretty much within walking distance of restaurants, shops, gas stations, anything you could possibly need, which is beneficial if you don't have a car, like Kyla didn't. She says that she didn't have a car because her husband threatened to take her daughter's car, whose name I will not use because she is a child, even though technically she is an adult. But she's not any part of this story other than this segment, so I'm not going to give out the kids' names. She had 2 kids. And we were laughing and we were giggling, and I kind of sort of like, at first I was like, oh, I don't know this person, whatever, and then I was like, wait a second, that's the woman from the gas station. So I turned around and I said, do I know you? And she was like, yeah. And then we started talking, and she told me why she was not at UDF anymore. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's really shitty. Long story short, being that she was a bigger woman, I guess the boss had supposedly, meaning I don't know if it's true, had supposedly made fun of her weight, and had just made her feel bad about herself. And I was like, well, that's really shitty, whatever. And when I got home that night, I was talking to Rachel, and I said, you know, I know her first name's Kyla because of her name tag, but I don't know who she is. And then I get on Facebook after I was texting Rachel, and there in my people you may know is Kyla Rooney. And I was like, there ain't no way. So I'm scrolling through the page, just checking, because it wasn't, her profile picture was an outdated photo. There's just, and I'm not saying that to be an asshole, I'm saying that it was an outdated photo. And I was scrolling through, looking at her stuff, like, is this the woman that I met? And because I'm a dumbass and I wasn't paying attention, I hit the add friend button, and then I was like freaking out. So I made a status where I was like, oh my god, what do you do if you accidentally friend somebody you didn't mean to friend, and like you don't even know them in like reality? You just like literally just talked to them on the street corner. And I was freaking out because I was like, oh god, she's gonna think I'm like a stalker or some shit. I don't know. But she not only added me, but she also laughed at that status. It's like, Jesus Christ, this makes me look bad, and you know, whatnot. And we kind of became friends. Like, we talked occasionally. She would like pictures and stuff I posted. But it wasn't until after I got a job at Alexander's Market and Deli, which is a shop here in town. It was, I was on Social Security, so it was enough to give me like some extra spending cash or like gas money or whatever, but it wasn't like a whole lot of money. Like, I worked 3 hours at $9 an hour. I made $27 a day. And I was using that money to furnish a trailer I was getting ready to move into because I had Nova, and at that time I had Nova with me permanently, and my landlord was charging me almost $50 for a dog this fucking big and this fucking tall, and I just could not afford $625 in rent, plus all the other bills that I had to pay, like utilities, phone, car, insurance, gas, all that stuff on my own. I just couldn't do it. And so she was selling stuff, obviously, because they're moving out of the house because they just got divorced. So he's moving to another city that's not that far from here. It's only like, I think like 15 minutes, if that, to this other town. It's called Trenton. To this other town. And then from there, she moved in with her mom and her stepdad. And we'll get into this. Hold on. Okay, so I was buying stuff from her because she was posting it, and I was like, oh my god, that furniture set, that patio furniture set is gonna look great on my new patio, because I finally was getting a patio and a deck, and I was so excited about it and whatnot. So I bought that for like $80, and then I bought some other like basic kitchenware, like stuff that I didn't really have because I lived in a trailer, so I really didn't have a whole lot of like space. Or I lived in an apartment, so I didn't really have like a whole lot of space for a whole lot of stuff. But I was moving into a trailer that was significantly bigger, obviously, than my apartment. And I was like, oh yeah, I can use some of this stuff to, like, you know, spruce up my apartment or my trailer a little bit, because I don't have that much coming with me from the apartment. Okay, so so from there, we started talking more frequently, and there were 2 separate occasions where we hung out, like in person, like actually hung out, and we were up all night. Both occasions she was drinking. I did not drink the first time, but I did the second time, because I was actively sober at that time and had been for 4 or 5 years. Then it turns out that my sorry, this is gonna make me laugh, that she was an alcoholic, and I did not know that until after all this had happened. Like, I knew, I had mentioned it to Rebecca, which, yes, Rebecca and Kyla know each other, because Rebecca at one time worked for Kyla when she owned Alexander's originally. She lost the company, or the restaurant, because of her alcoholism, and just basically the city forced her out. And then they were still friends, but Rebecca was not, you know, working for her. They were not like actively like best friends that hung out all the time or anything like that. They were just acquaintances, and at one point, employee-boss relationship. And Rebecca was telling me how she was always drunk, and how Jim, that's her ex-husband, would have to come down to Alexander's and would have to like, I would like to have to like physically pick her up off the restaurant floor in the office because she was so drunk that she was passed out. And I'm not saying this to be an asshole. It happens. I've been there. That's my problem too. I was an alcoholic. I get it. Blackout drunk is something that we do, and we do very well. But what we're not acknowledging is that, you know, when most alcoholics are usually alcoholics to the point that they've become functioning alcoholics. Now, if you don't know what that means, I'm going to explain it kind of briefly. You're welcome to look it up more in detail, or ask, and I'll make a separate video on alcoholism in general. But you can drink almost anybody under the table, for one, and still be relatively sober enough to appear coherent and functional to the people around you, so that no one is aware, except maybe your spouse or your kids or your family or whatever, or even some of your close friends, are not aware that you are an alcoholic. Does that kind of like make sense for you guys? But I was not aware of the fact that she was an alcoholic at first. I did not figure that out, obviously, until she started in on me one night, and she was like calling me a narcissist and all kinds of crazy shit, and just basically being fucking dramatic. And like, I was so enamored by this woman that like I was taking all the hurtful things that she was saying in stride, and I was just like, oh yeah, I must be a really crappy person, because why else would she be saying this? And the reality is, it had nothing to do with the kind of person I was. She was a narcissist. And she didn't care who she hurt. as long as it didn't cause her hurt, if that makes any sense. So basically your typical narcissist. She started calling me names and stuff one night, and we really got into it, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I did. I didn't even say anything. Why are you being like this? Whatever. And she was like, just complete asshole. And then I said, listen, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what your problem is. Maybe we should meet up for coffee and talk. So I showed up at the coffee shop the next morning, which she told me was fine. She said, let's meet at 8 a.m. I sat there for 2 hours like a fucking dumbass, and she never showed up. So I was leaving, and I went by her house, and I knocked on her door. No answer, whatever. I sat out there for a couple of minutes trying to figure out, like, what should I do? Should I just, leave her a text? Or leave and send her a text that, like, I showed up, but you weren't there. I don't know if you still want to talk to me or, like, what. But then her son came out, and I was like, oh, hey, is your mom home? And he was like, yeah, she's asleep. And I was like, oh. I probably should have figured on that one because, again, alcoholic, when we crash, we get tired. So, like, I mean, it's like anything else. When you are experiencing a high, you eventually crash. Well, in the case of alcoholism, which is a downer, it calms you down, but it also kind of makes you slow and sluggish and, for lack of a better term, kind of stupid acting. And it can put you to sleep. And that's usually why, surprisingly, a lot of people with mental illness use alcohol as almost a sleeping remedy. So like a remedy for insomnia, basically. And that's how we get hooked to it and whatnot. And I was just like, oh, whatever. So I went home, I sent her a text message. She did not respond for 3 days. And I was like, excuse me, man. And then when she did respond, it was to ask me if I would help her move the last of her stuff out of her house to her mom's basement. And I was like, oh, sure, yeah, I can do that, whatever, not a big deal. I said, but in exchange for doing that, do you think you could help me move some boxes from my apartment to my trailer since I'm moving out of my apartment? And she said, sure, I'll be happy to help. We'll do, like, it's like if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of situation. And of course, because this is very fucked up. So the night that a couple nights after I had helped her move into her mom's house, I was at work, and I was a waitress at Frisch's, and I closed that night, so I did not get out till like midnight. If you don't know what Frisch's is basically a salad bar. They've really gone downhill. They don't have the greatest food anymore. I'd give it about a 3 out of 10, and right now pretty much the only thing I will eat from there solidly that I really enjoy is their hot fudge cake, and that's because they don't actually make any of it. It is pre-made. It's just warmed up. Anyway, she was texting me and she was like, I really need to get out of here, whatever, I'm just not comfortable being here, I don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. And I offered to go pick her up, and I was like, hey, I'll come to get you, we can just hang out at my apartment tonight. If you want to spend the night, I have a spare bed. And because I'm me, and I genuinely thought that I could help her without experiencing addiction again myself. And sometimes you are able to do that, and sometimes it is so fucking in your face that you can't avoid it because it's just there, if that makes sense. Like, it is so in your face that you cannot not acknowledge it, if that makes sense. So she ended up spending the night at my apartment, except that we never went to sleep. And we both got drunk because I'm a dumbass, and I let her talk me into a rather unhealthy decision-making process that I should not have been allowed to make. Anyway, at least I'm honest. Anyway, from there, one thing led to another. There was some sexual stuff that went on. For the record, I never touched her chest and her mouth because we made out. Whatever. Everything sexual was done to me, and it was fine. I consented. I was an adult. We were both adults. Whatever. So after that happened, I expected it to just kind of be like one of those things that we swept under the rug. Like, oh no, we both made a bad decision. You're not into women. Whatever. The next day, she's supposed to be helping me move. So I go pick her up. I bring her to my apartment to help me move what I need help with. Oh my god, this pencil sharpener sucks. And that's when she informs me that her son tackled her the night before, like, playing around, and she had thrown out her back. And I was like, yeah, of course he did, whatever. It's because, you know, now it's time for you to fulfill... And now it's time for you to fulfill your promise to me, whatever, and you just don't want to do it. And that, bruh, whatever. I don't even care at this point. Anyway, oh, that is not white, that is yellow. But as I said, you know, whatever. She helped me move a grand total of 2 boxes before she said that she wasn't just going to be very useful because of her back being out. And I was like, okay, whatever. You could just say you don't want to help me. That's fine. But whatever. And so she we were at the trailer, we were talking, whatever, and as we're driving back and I'm getting ready to take her home, I stopped and got a couple more boxes because I was like, I'll just drop you off at your mom's house and I'll go continue on to my trailer and I'll unpack some more stuff. And I said, we really should talk about what happened last night. And she was like, it's okay. Everybody makes stupid mistakes when they're drunk. And I was hurt by those words because I was like, it wasn't just a drunk mistake, but now I was a stupid drunk mistake. And I was like, the phrasing could have been better, whatever. Honestly, after that, she pretty much ghosted me. I haven't spoken to her directly anyway in, let's see, it's 2025, so what is that, 6 years, 7 years? Now she's back on social media and she's on TikTok, and I know she sees my stuff because occasionally she'll follow me and then unfollow me for absolutely no reason, or somebody's sending it to her, which if that's the case, I'm pretty sure I know who that is. Rebecca. Anyway, but I haven't seen her since, like, and that was great. And you would think that'd be the end of this story, right? Because she moved, because I moved on. Oh my god, dropping on everything. Anyway, because, you know, I moved on and I've gotten married, obviously, since then. But you would think that would be the end of the story, but no, it's not the end of the story because this bitch came back. Okay. Anyway, to finish out the first round of this thing, I moved into my trailer. I was back with my ex, which honestly was not good because she was so paranoid after that I was cheating on her that she even accused me of sleeping with Rebecca and using Zumba class as a euphemism for what I was doing. And I was like, if I was sleeping with Rebecca, I wouldn't tell you where I was going. Nor would I share my location with you. Come on now. But she was also known for being a chronic cheater. And you know how it is. That's like, they accuse you of doing it because they're already doing it and they need a reason to justify it. And this resulted, I mean, it was fine for a little while, and then it just ultimately resulted in a fight that got physical and ended with me being thrown through the coffee table. Yeah. So, and this was all because I refused to tarnish someone else's reputation and say that I was sleeping with them. I'm going to take a little break here. I need a minute to breathe because all the powder. I'll be right back though, so give me just a few. So basically, long story short, we ended up breaking up after this incident, and it was permanent for me because it had turned physical. And while this was not the first abusive relationship I've been in, because like I have an issue apparently being attracted to people who are not only abusive but are also substance abuse users. I have been married to a man for one instance, and he was a heavy alcoholic. My very first boyfriend, his mother hated me, and he was addicted to drugs, and somehow that was my fault, even though I've never done hard drugs in my life. I mean, I've tried some, but I've never gotten addicted to anything, and it was way after that boy. I started posting my healing journey involving both my ex-girlfriend and Kyla, and an incident between me and Rebecca, which I can make another video on that if you guys are interested. It's a story for you. It's a story. I met Amy through TikTok, and we started talking on April 14th, I believe, and then she came to see me for the first time on April 18th, coming from Alabama to Ohio, and then from there she went home. After the first weekend together, I got the money together for her to come back, and she's been with me ever since. We were officially engaged on December 25th of, I believe, 2020 or 2021, one of those. I think it was 2021. And we were officially married on June 26th of 2022. Still had not seen, heard, or received any news on Kyla at this point. I obviously had no interest in knowing or caring. And then this motherfucker. We go to Bubba Coos one time. Well, I go to Bubba Coos one time because Amy had had a colonoscopy. She was tired. She was trying to sleep, and I was just going to go get us some food. I walk in the restaurant, and who the fuck is there? Kyla and Jim. I don't know why they're together because they're not married still, at least as far as I know. They're not married anymore. And they're just fucking standing there talking to each other. And I was like, I started freaking out. I had a full-blown panic attack. I ended up leaving. I came back to get my wife, who, although tired, went with me because she understood that I was not mentally capable of being there on my own, of having to face Kyla on my own. And while we were standing in line, I suddenly had to like super pee, which I know is way too much information, but it's fine. And I walked past the table she was sitting at with her ex-husband. He was not at that table at that time. I'm assuming he was probably in the bathroom because he came back later, but I wasn't really paying attention. And my wife said, "That woman looks horrified to see you. Who is that?" And I said, that lady is Kyla Rooney. The one who fucked me up so bad and made me almost suicidal a few years ago. That's a fantastic story. Anyway, I didn't see her again for a couple of weeks, and then one night, my wife and I went to the local grocery store, Myers. Again, I don't think that's Ohio exclusive, but I can't tell you what other places have it because I don't know. Anyway, and we went like really late at night because that was back when like my wife would get paid from her stay-at-home job, and we always got paid really late at night. And I don't know if it was like the time difference or what, but like it was just always really late at night. So we went to Myers because I was hungry and I wanted a snack. I wanted a sweet treat, so we went to Myers so we could get a sweet treat to make it home. And we're at the checkout, we're getting ready to leave, and Kyla walks in with her daughter, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I don't see this woman for like, this was probably 2023. I'm like, I haven't seen this woman for 5 years, and now all of a sudden she's fucking everywhere. Anyway, then I eventually, at some point, my friend got out of her abusive marriage, and we started talking again, and this was last year. Actually, it might have been this year. I think it was this year, actually. I keep forgetting, like, we're still in this year, aren't we? So it might have been this year. But we hung out a few times. We were getting close again, whatever. I was really excited to have my friend back because I hadn't seen her in 10 years. And, you know, it was just nice that she was living a normal life or whatever. She came over to my house, and when she left, a lot of my stuff apparently went with her because I couldn't find it anywhere. Still haven't found it. And I was really irritated and whatnot, and I was like, I can't be friends with somebody who steals from me, who won't admit that they stole from me, blah blah blah. Like, why are you being this way? Like, just tell me if you took it or you didn't. And I knew she did, but I wanted her to come out and say it to me. I wanted her to be a big enough person to say, yeah, I took it and I'm sorry. But that never happened. So we ended up really not being friends anymore. We don't talk as much. But shortly after that, to try and get my attention, she friended Kyla on Facebook. And then, like, sent me a screenshot of her profile showing that they were friends. And I was like, how is this supposed to make me want to talk to you? Like, you're basically just showing me that you're a really shady person, and I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be friends with somebody like that. What the fuck? And, so obviously that didn't work. She ended up deleting her, but the damage had already been done. Like, you were mad at me, so you tried to use my trauma against me kind of situation. So, like I said, the damage had already been done at that point, and there was no coming back from it. Like, you were not going to get a fucking thing out of me, for being bitchy enough to even do that. Like, who does that? And I had gotten closer. I had gotten closer to my friend Rebecca at the time. We hung out a lot. We were, like, you know, chilling or whatever, like, actually hanging out, like, physically hanging out. We were spending time together. We got really close. We were talking quite often. We were just fucking around, whatever. No, let me rephrase. We were just hanging out, fucking around, not, like, actually messing around, because I know there's going to be somebody who hears that and runs with it. So, anyway, sorry, this is always such a pain to put it on. Anyway, and I had told her how I felt about what Katie had done, which is the friend that stole from me and then befriended my like, worst nightmare. And I said, you know, like, and I even told her, I was like, I would have understood if it had been Rebecca that had become friends with Kyla, because they, like, you know, worked together at one time. They had history long before she and I had met, meaning me and Kyla, or even me and Rebecca. So, like, I would have expected that from her, you know, whatnot. But I told her, like, how it made me feel and how I felt like I had really been kind of betrayed by somebody who was supposed to be my friend, and I didn't understand why she had done that. And then she was like, oh, well, she sent me a friend request, and I was like, okay, whatever. She's like, I haven't accepted it, though. And I was like, okay, well, you know, do what you feel you need to do. Like, I'm not going to tell you to not be friends with somebody. I'm not your partner, and I'm not your mama, so, like, whatever. But I assumed that if she had accepted the friend request, she would just tell me, instead of making me look like a complete and utter fucking dumbass, saying, oh no, I don't think she would do that behind my back. I'm pretty sure if it happened, she would tell me about it, whatnot. Turns out she had actually accepted the friend request, which was fine, but she did not tell me. And I found out after unblocking Kyla, which was like really shitty. So like that should tell you how important this was to me, because when you unblock somebody on Facebook, you can't reblock them for 48 hours, which I think is the dumbest shit ever. Like, I just want to see who this bitch is friends with. Like, I don't need like a whole 48 hours to investigate into what I'm trying to investigate into. And I was like pissed off about that, but it is what it is. And I look at it, and plain as day, there's little Miss Rebecca, friends with Kyla, and chose not to tell me a damn thing. So I truly look like a fucking dumbass at this point. And, my brain just malfunctioned. Anyway, and so they're friends, and I'm like, you know what, it's fine. I wish you had told me about it before you did it, but I'm not your mama, I'm not your partner, I can't tell you what you can and can't do, so be friends with her. But it did kind of make me sketchy about, like, wanting to share anything with her about how I felt about anything from that point going forward, because it's like, you were friends with her behind my back, and you chose not to tell me. How is that supposed to make me feel? If you get my point. But since then, I have not seen her, but she did pop back up on social media, like I said, on all social media. And the only reason I know that is because I had to search out her accounts to block them. And occasionally I still search them out to either make sure that they're blocked, because I have had social media apps that will unblock people, and also to make sure that there's not like another account that she's using, because, you know, she's old and forgets her password, I'm sure. So, like, just to kind of make sure that there's no way I can be contacted by her. I've also blocked her ex-husband and her kids, and while they didn't do anything wrong, I feel like it could be used as a way to reach out to me, and I just have no interest in resuming contact with this woman. But she did go on to tell a bunch of people that the only reason she did what she did with me is because she was drunk, which I call bullshit, because most straight women don't fantasize about making out with other women. Just saying. Just saying. So, I don't know. I think she's probably at least bi and just closeted, because that's not something that was widely accepted back in the 70s, I guess. I don't fucking know. But yeah, so that's that whole story. I know this was kind of a long video because I was talking so much, but I've been promising you guys forever on a story time, and just never had a chance to get it done, and I had time today, so I did it. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire story on Kyla. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to 7 Brew Coffee. This is an energy refresher called Nightshade. I love this shit. It's a new find of my wife's. I love this flavor. It was so much better than the mermaid one, but I really like this one. And as for that, other than my shameless plug, I am not sponsored by them, but I'm just saying, if you have one, go try the energy refreshers. They're amazing. As always, though, guys, please be safe, make good choices, and be cautiously kind to others. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.